I think they go hand in hand, right? So mental is a huge part of it. Most people that come into me and they, it's been 5, 10, 15 years, when we really start unpacking what's going on in their life, it almost always stems back to like something that happened in childhood or some divorce, a really bitter divorce or something. And then they keep telling themselves like that something's wrong with them, they're never going to get better. And they have to take the placebo effect, in it's a real thing, right? So like people take a pill in a study, and even if it's a sugar pill, they think it's the real pill and they get better, right? So that's real, right? People, if you think you're gonna get better, you oftentimes do get
testosterone therapy or lifestyle intervention.
It depends on your age, right? If a 30-year-old's coming to me, definitely lifestyle optimization first. I'm not saying that we don't run, we wouldn't go that route if we dial in their lifestyle issues and their testosterone still low.
Okay. Hormone optimization or metabolic health?
Metabolic health. Without metabolic health, your hormones are going to be wonky anyways.
What's up, guys? Welcome back to the Impact Leaders podcast. This is the first episode, and I'm your host, Dave Gold. Today, we've got an incredible guest, Dr. Nate Fulton, who is an expert on hormones, metabolism, and gut health, something that myself, and I'm sure many of you guys, if you're entrepreneurs or professionals, have experienced the challenges of maintaining that balance in your gut health as you grow and scale your business, and also as you dive into deeper relationships in your life. And this conversation is especially important because it touches upon a part of the journey that not that many people really talk about. So Dr. Nate works with real patients. He does the lab tests. He does the real stuff. So we're gonna dive into it all. Before we get into it, Nate, thank you so much for jumping on. And why don't you give the listeners a little quick origin story on how you got into becoming a doctor and an expert on gut health?
Yeah, so I started out, thought I was going to go the traditional med school route, did NPLEX, did all that stuff. Went to college, graduated with a degree in cell and molecular biology. I took some time off and worked in a lab. Like I said, was going to go to med school, started shadowing some doctors. They really, they just seemed unhappy. It's like they've been pigeonholed into a system. I don't think most doctors are happy with the system, how it is. I've heard lots of complaints, just that insurance medical model limiting visits to, you get paid for about 7 to 15 minutes of your time, right? So that's why most people, they go into a doctor's office, you get a 15-minute appointment, and then you're out the door with the script, right? That's because they're getting paid for their 15 minutes, and anything outside of that 15 minutes, they're not getting paid for that anymore. So yeah, I really went and shadowed some doctors, got talked out of that, was looking for just genuinely wanted to help people. My dad got diagnosed with cancer when I was in my 20s, went through that whole medical system, really did not fall in love with it. Just the standard medical model of care leaves a lot to be desired, right? And then that's when I came across things like functional medicine. And then from there, I really got into looking into naturopathic medicine. And for most people, they're like, what, a lot of people, they've maybe heard of functional medicine, maybe heard of naturopathic medicine, but they don't really know what it is, right? And when I break it down for them, it's like, what is naturopathic and functional medicine really, right? It's not about guesswork. It's not about magic pills or quick fixes. And it's definitely not about, slapping a supplement or a medication on every single symptom, right? So naturopathic and functional medicine, they're both rooted in that same idea: get to the root of what's going on and help the body actually heal, right? We're not interested in chasing symptoms. We're looking at patterns, right? We ask why again and again until we find the system that's really out of balance. We use real labs, we use real data, and a full body lens that connects all of your systems. Because again, you go into your doctor's office, you have a dermatologist, you have a cardiologist, you have a gastroenterologist, and they're all only focused on that one system that they deal with, right? That they've been trained in. And that can work, but it doesn't take into the whole person, right? And oftentimes it's not just a gut issue, right? Or it's not just a nervous system issue, or not just a hormone issue, right? There's, the brain and the nervous system are connected. Your hormones and metabolism are connected. Your gut and the detox functions are connected. Energy and mitochondria, inflammation and immune system, right? It's like a huge system that's all interconnected that can't just be broken up into like, let's just look at your gut, right? Because that gut is affecting everything else too, right? So
Well, there's
the
a
core,
lot to break down there, but let me start with, the why. So what do you think are some of the patterns that your clients see, or in my case, right, like an entrepreneur or a busy professional would see that might be time to say, all right, maybe I need to go and talk to someone or start doing things a little bit differently than what I'm currently doing because I'm starting to notice X, Y, and Z in my life.
yeah. So I would say like the very first step for most people is to get a very in-depth labs done, right? You go to your doctor, most of the time they're going to run like a CBC, a CMP, and those can be helpful. They might look at your liver panel. I mean, that comes in a CMP, but it's very little labs done. They're not looking at your vitamin D. They're not looking at your magnesium status. They're not looking at your zinc and copper. There's a whole host of vitamins and minerals that go into making hormones, right? And if you're low in those, yeah, of course you're going to have low testosterone or suboptimal testosterone or suboptimal progesterone if you're a female, right? So for a lot of people, the moment you say the word hormonal, it gets dismissed, right? If you go into your doctor's office and you're saying I feel like there's something wrong, I want to look at my hormones, they're going to dismiss you, right? Oh, it's just PMS, or they might test your total testosterone, and if that's still in range, right, you're going to get dismissed. They don't look at like, oh, you're a 30-year-old and you have the total testosterone. Sure, it's in range, but you have the total testosterone of a 60-year-old man, right? And that's a problem. Meanwhile, you're waking up feeling like your body doesn't belong to you anymore, right?
So we met actually on Instagram, funny enough. Like what inspired you to take this practice that you've got going on in person in Arizona and then start teaching people about it online?
Yeah, so I've always had this desire to help people, right? And like for sure, it's nice to I have a lot of patients. It's nice to, make money. Everyone likes to make money, right? But I also,
I don't think everyone likes to make money, but I think that for some people it's necessary, especially if you've got a family, especially if you live in the
yeah,
States, it's an expensive country to live in. You got to make
of
money.
course,
And if you're
of
going to be
course.
helping people, one of the things you talked about was like being valued for your time and not being valued for a quarter of your time.
Sure. Yeah, for sure. And again, I love to help people. I don't want to limit my help to like who can pay me the most amount of money right up front, right? So that's where I wanted to create like educational content, and that's what I do. I create educational content. I try to give people the most benefit for free, and then if they want to dive deeper, if there's like something that I created spoke to them and it's like, oh, wow, I would like this person gets me. I love seeing those people, right? I love when they come into my practice, whether it's in Arizona in person or virtually. And I've been helping people all over the world. I just had a patient yesterday from the UK, and the day before that I had a person in Africa, right?
That they
And
found
so
you on your
they
Instagram.
found me on Instagram, right?
Incredible.
Which
And
is crazy.
you started this personal brand how long ago?
I branched out on my own and created this in April of 2025,
Of
right?
this
And
year.
it's
So
of
it's
yeah,
been like less than a full year, and already you've got patients from all over the world. And what's it like working with someone, virtually that's in the UK? Do you find it as enjoyable? Are you able to go as deep with them? What's been that experience like?
yeah. So there's definitely some hurdles that are involved when you're helping people outside of the US, right? Because
Hmm.
a lot of like the UK, for example, they have well, I can't think of the name, but their medicine's paid for, right? Like they don't.
NHS or something?
Yeah, yeah. And so what happens, and the problem that I've run into is they have a harder time going and paying like cash labs, right? A lot of those don't exist in those countries where it's like they go to the doctor and they pay cash labs. What they have to do is they have to go to their doctor and they have to like then their doctor orders their labs for them. And if they wanted to go deeper, well, you better hope you have a really awesome doctor or you're kind of out of luck, right? And so it does, some of my patients that I've helped, the one in the UK, they have a really awesome provider that's willing to work with them and sees the value in like digging a little bit deeper, especially because that person specifically, he's dealing with some post-COVID like viral stuff that's been going on since 2020. And, they've ran a litany of tests, they've run a battery of tests, and they can't figure out what's going on, but he's miserable. Right. And so, we really start getting into those deeper mitochondrial markers, looking at, organic acids tests, things that you're not going to find in a standard lab, or your traditional doctors not even going to know the thing about an organic acids test, right? They're not going to look at mitochondrial markers and things of that nature. So, I mean, there's definitely, like I said, there's some hurdles.
All right, well, let's talk about like the hurdles. Like, what would you say is like the hardest part mentally about the work that you do? Is it like the carrying the responsibility for people's health? Is it like the amount of time that you put into your work, the uncertainty? Like, what are the biggest challenges of being a gut health doctor, a naturopathic one?
I would say the biggest challenge, right, is most people. So I would say most people, they've been so trained for like going to the doctor, get a prescription, and then that's like their quick fix, right? And in functional medicine, there is no quick fixes, right? For a lot of people, they've been going down this road of depletion for years, right? And so sometimes people come to me and it's been like they've been noticing this pattern for 5 to 10 years, and then they want to be fixed in 2 weeks, right? And it's like, some of these patterns, it's like, give me 3 to 6 months before you like, that's what it's going to take before you really start feeling better, right?
Maybe 3 to 6 years.
Yeah, I mean, it could be 3 to 6 years. I hope that it's not 3 to 6 years, but yeah, realistically, I would say 6 months, 6 to 9 months, depending on how severe the issue is really how long it takes for people to start noticing benefits. And I tell them, give me 12 weeks. And if at 12 weeks you're not feeling, 20% better, then fire me as your doctor, right? Because realistically, I think in 12 weeks we can get you, I'm not saying we're going to get you 100% better, but we can get you 20% better. And then 12 weeks from there, we can get you 20% better from there, right? And eventually we get you to that 100% better, but it's over the course of, 6, 9, maybe 12 months. Right.
Well, yeah, we got to give people like at least a short-term goal so that they feel like they have something to work towards in the short term, not only in the long term. I know for me, I've done some pretty crazy things. Like I was in the army at one point in my life, and one of the guys that told me like, okay, how do you get through the army is you just work towards the next meal. Just say, I just want to make it to the next meal, and maybe when I was going through my gut problems, it was just like, all right, in 12 to 24 weeks, can I be feeling better just incrementally from what I currently am at? But I never really knew how to get out of that situation. I just didn't have the knowledge. I didn't have the doctor. I didn't have the experience. How much do you think the problems, though, are mental and also dietary?
Oh man, I think they go hand in hand, right? So mental is a huge part of it. Most people that come into me and they, it's been 5, 10, 15 years, when we really start unpacking what's going on in their life, it almost always stems back to like something that happened in childhood or some divorce, a really bitter divorce or something. And then they keep telling themselves like that something's wrong with them. They're never going to get better. And they have to take the placebo effect, and it's a real thing, right? So like people take a pill in a study, and even if it's a sugar pill, they think it's the real pill and they get better, right? So that's real, right? People, if you think you're gonna get better, you oftentimes do get better, right? So yeah, that's huge. And go ahead.
I mean, for me, it was like I was having these gut problems after I got out of the army, and I had an incident where like maybe I was drugged in a foreign country and that didn't help, but there was so much pressure on me to try to make it work. And growing up, I'm from Philadelphia originally, growing up in a family and in a society where I feel like there's a lot of pressure to have a certain title, to be something, to create a certain amount
Mm.
of wealth, to have a certain type of family. If you're not fitting into that box or you're going through challenges in your life, I think that pressure can lead to many different symptoms
Yeah.
of the problem, which is what you talk about, the root cause. And for me, it was like I needed to get back on my path of feeling free, of
Hmm.
experiencing adventure and liberation. And the minute that I did that and I started traveling around the world, the gut problems started to go away.
Yeah.
And one of the times that they came back was when I went to India. And I already had in my mind, I'm going to get sick when I go to India. Granted, India does have a different level of hygiene and the food is very different. And I'm a bit sensitive. But like the minute that I left India and I got to Thailand, for example, I already started to feel better.
Yeah.
So I have a feeling that there is a lot to be said about mental. But nowadays, and I know maybe you see them too, because I mean, you're in the field, there's a lot of people talking about these little biohacks on what you can do, like waking up in the morning and having a glass of water with lemon and salt
Yeah.
and apple cider vinegar and doing these olive oil shots and things like that. And
Hmm.
so I'm starting to do those things to various degrees of success,
Yeah.
but I would love to hear from you, like what you think about all this content that's being created these days, and people are consuming it, and then they're going off and they're trying it. Like, what do you think is the best practice to know what's right for your body versus what's just a trend that you're hearing on some, viral Instagram reel?
Yeah. So that, I mean, I don't know if I have the answer for that question. It is hard, right? Because there's so many people out there putting out content, and some of it's good content, some of it's not great content. It's really like I always tell people, don't get your news from like one source, right? Like you should be following multiple people, follow evidence-based, doctors, MDs, follow functional doctors, follow naturopaths, follow like people that are thinking outside the box too. But always do your research, right? Like apple cider vinegar, that one can be incredibly helpful, right? Helps stimulate digestive enzymes, helps increase stomach acid naturally. There's a lot of really good data out on that specifically, and if you take the time to like look into that one specific, like very specifically, you'll come across that one's got a lot of actionable info, right? Some of the other ones, I see a lot of like like gut detox ones, the lemon water, very small use case. Yeah, it all depends,
So
but
what's one that you think like maybe people should be aware of that maybe they should be a little bit skeptical of? Are there any that comes to your mind?
man, so like the like liver cleanses, right, or like the
Okay.
detox cleanses, the detox teas, right? There's nothing to them. There's almost nothing to them. It's a waste of your time. It's a waste of your energy, a waste of your money. Don't do the
Oh,
detox teas. They don't do anything, right? That would be the one off the top of my head that I see a lot of. There's companies that literally make detox teas to
yeah,
sell, right? And then
yeah.
they're advertising on Instagram, and then they get an influencer or somebody like that to sign on to it, and that person has 300,000 followers, and who knows how many people actually buy from them. But let's say 2%. That's a large number of people that are wasting their money on a detox tea.
All right, so let's talk about something I didn't think we were going to bring up. But they say when you stop eating for a moment, the body doesn't panic, it recalibrates. There's many pages that talk about fasting as one of the tools that improves metabolic health, mental clarity, and discipline at the same time. But for someone like me, it's really hard to fast for more than 24 hours. And that's
Yeah.
actually one of the things that I'm looking forward to in the new year. I'm stepping into a potential 3-day water fast. What are your thoughts on like water fasting or dry fasting?
Yeah, so fast again, they can be incredibly useful, but it all depends on the context of like who's doing the fast, right? If somebody's
Mhm.
already incredibly stressed out and overworked and their nervous system is shot, that fast can just cause more issues, right? But if the person's well regulated, they're They're not like incredibly stressed out. Their nervous system's not shot. Fasting can be incredibly beneficial. So it's never like a one, like it never fits like this one solution doesn't fit everybody, right? It's really like, are you in a position where a 3-day fast would benefit you? Yeah, then do it. But if you're not in a position, if your cortisol's already tanked, or you're already not getting enough nutrients as it is, which is almost also incredibly common, and then on top of that, you're doing a 3-day fast, right? And then you're missing out on that feeding window, and so you're not eating, and then you start eating again, but you're not eating enough. It's like it's like pouring gasoline on a fire, right?
Okay, okay. That makes a lot of sense. Now, let's say someone listens to this episode and they want to learn more about what you do. So, do you want to talk a little bit about what you currently offer and, how someone could, consider whether or not that would be something that they would want to consider joining potentially?
Yeah. So what we were talking previously, and you gave me some really good ideas. Right now I'm only doing like a new patient and then a like follow-up patient. So if anything that I'm talking about resonates with you and you want to come work with me, I do have a new patient appointment. It is $250, and then from there it's just follow-up appointments, $150 per follow-up appointment. That new patient appointment is about 90 minutes long, so it's an hour and a half, way longer than you would get going into your traditional doctor's office, right? And that allows us to really take time and focus on what's going on with you. Before that appointment even happens, you get a very like in-depth, detailed questionnaire that really just helps me focus down on what I think we really need to talk about during that 90 minutes, right? And then from there, depending if you're in Arizona, that's where I'm licensed. We have a much broader scope of what I can do. We can do medications if needed. We can do some other things that I can't do outside of mainly it's just medications that I can't do outside, like if it's not Arizona. But anywhere else in the US, I can run labs for you. I can help you with, supplements, what you might be missing, talk about lifestyle, dietary choices, things like that. That is all stuff that I can do, right?
Labs first or clinical symptoms first?
Clinical symptoms first, right? That really helps narrow down the lab list, rather than spending, $900,000 on labs. Getting your clinical picture first, seeing what's going on, that can really narrow down the lab list, right?
Okay. Hormone optimization or metabolic health?
Metabolic health. Without metabolic health, your hormones are going to be wonky anyways. If your blood sugar is chaos, if you are HbA1c is high, your blood sugar is high, that all affects your hormonal well-being.
All right, testosterone therapy or lifestyle intervention?
It depends on your age, right? If a 30-year-old's coming to me, definitely lifestyle optimization first. I'm not saying that we wouldn't go that route if we dial in their lifestyle issues and their testosterone's still low. But if I have some 50 and 60-year-old men that come to me, lifestyle can help move the needle, and we definitely do work on that. But I almost always go with testosterone, or I go with testosterone.
Fasting or frequent meals?
Man, I would say this one's dependent on the person, right? Again, frequent meals. I'm not one to like eat 6 or 7 times a day. I do think, that traditional 3 meals a day window it really works. Maybe a snack here or there, but fasting can also be incredibly beneficial for the right person.
On that note, food quality or calorie control?
I mean, I think both are important, right? You don't want to binge on like 4,000 calories of fruit still, or also, knowing where your food's coming from, not, there's a lot of stuff out in the ether now of like those forever chemicals and, phthalates, and they're really starting to pay attention to how much that does impact your health. So yeah, I like, it's incredibly important to pay attention to what you're cooking, right? If you're cooking vegetables in those microwavable bags, yeah, you're getting a lot of unhealthy things that are coming into that with that plastic. A lot of microplastics, a lot of forever chemicals, things of that nature. There's a reason why that plastic bag doesn't melt in the microwave, right?
Cooking vegetables in a microwavable bag. Okay, I didn't even realize that was.
Is that not a thing?
Well, yeah, that's a crazy thing. I mean, I I was given a plastic fork just now, and I don't know why I was going to use it. I guess I didn't feel like doing the dishes, and it chipped a little bit, and I was like, okay, no more plastic forks. Just use the real thing. All right,
Yeah,
let's continue. So morning sunlight or cold exposure?
morning sunlight. Morning
Morning
sunlight.
sun.
It sets your cortisol rhythm for the day. We're evolution, we're products of evolution, right? We were designed to wake up with the sun and go to bed at night when the sun goes down.
Well, let's double on that because you live in Arizona. There's a lot of sun, I think, all year round. What about for a client like that's in the UK? It's kind of dark, it's kind of gloomy a lot of the year. What would you recommend them to do when they wake up first thing in the morning?
Yeah, so there's a couple options, right? So even though it's sunny or not sunny outside, right? It's cloudy, it might be rainy. I mean, a lot of people don't want to go out in the rain, but if it's cloudy, you're still getting photons into the eyes, right? Photons from the sun. It's still light outside. It's not as many, so you have to be out a little bit longer. So I always say, in Arizona where it's sunny almost year round, 10 to 15 minutes of sunlight first thing in the morning sets your biological clock, it sets your cortisol response for the day. 16 hours later, your melatonin's going to rise, your cortisol is naturally going to fall throughout the day. And that just helps you, that helps your biological rhythm, right? For people in the UK where it's cloudy, be outside a little bit longer, 30 minutes, 40 minutes if it's really cloudy. If that's not an option, they make those sun lamps, those lamps that you can I think they're 10,000 lux is what you're looking for, that you can set next to your desk while you're working and do 10 to 15 minutes of that first thing in the morning.
Do you know the red light therapy? And some people do that, like they do it with their anus, like they like the sun to the
Yeah.
bum.
I mean, I've never actually seen anyone promoting it, but I have heard that there are people that, yeah, do the red light therapy.
The same ones that promote the kind of out there health stuff like eating
Yeah.
raw red meat and drinking eggs raw and doing
Yeah.
things that I don't think that I should do for my gut personally.
Yeah. I
But
mean, some of the stuff that they do say, and this is where it's like some of the crazy stuff that they say, it's like the science actually comes along and supports it. So for example, I'm not saying all of it. I'm saying like do your research. But there was a lot of
yeah.
people that talk about, people that do saunas, right? And I love sauna use. I
Mhm.
recommend it for a lot of my patients. But there's actually good data that shows that, going in there and it's hot lowers testosterone production, like, not forever, but immediately afterwards. Some upwards of like 20% sometimes, right? And there's people that go in, and I thought this was just, again, like doing it for clicks, where they go in and they ice their testicles, right, to keep them cold, but it actually works. Right, it actually works. It actually your testosterone doesn't plummet after the sauna because you are going in there and it's 180 degrees, right? So
I think it's really good, the high performance centers, and I've been to them in Tulum in Austin, Texas, where they've got the ice bath and the sauna, and you
yeah,
can kind of do the cold and the hot
yep.
therapy and immersion. But yeah, as we start to wrap up, like at the deepest level, why do you do this work?
I think the primary reason that I do this work is I've just had a lot of friends, family members, they're not well. They go to their doctor, they're trying their best, they're doing everything that their doctor told them to do, which was essentially take this antidepressant, take metformin, and that can be incredibly helpful short term. And I'm not saying don't do any of those things, right? A lot of times they were just going there and taking the pill and then never getting better. And so I wanted to dig deeper. And a lot of times it's like, especially for depression and things of that nature, nutrients play a huge role. People are we're not nutritionally optimized, right? Are, at least here in the United States.
Especially in the United States and in some
Yeah,
of these Western countries where the food is not the highest and freshest quality.
yeah. I mean, we eat, and I mean, they call it the standard American diet for a reason, right? Highly
Hmm.
processed, a lot of ultra processed foods, a lot high sugar, comes from, GMO corn, high
A lot of
fructose corn,
sodas.
a lot of sodas. Yeah, it's just not, we're not eating nutritionally for our bodies. And then even when we are doing that and we're doing our best, eating organic foods, doing all the things that we're supposed to, the soil health of the United States is bad. It's horrible. We can't grow food without spraying loads of fertilizer on it, right? Because our
Mm.
soil health is so bad. There's actually some studies where they compare the nutritional quality of, vegetables 50 years ago to the nutritional quality of vegetables today. Almost across the board, every nutrient, every vitamin, every mineral is lower now than it was 50 years ago.
I mean, I
Sometimes by
notice a massive difference now because I spend so much time in Mexico and Colombia and Brazil and Argentina and other countries. When I go back to the States, just the taste of the vegetables, just the taste of the meat, I just notice it to be different. And also, I saw a video of the cows going out and they had to be inside because the winter was cold in the Netherlands. And then when they went out and they were on the grass, they started jumping around. It looked
yeah,
kind of funny, but it was probably real because it's like, our animals, they want a natural environment as well. And at the same time, the cost of grass-fed beef is much more organic grass-fed beef. At
yeah,
Whole Foods, they call it whole paychecks for a reason. It's
yeah,
it's not affordable for most, working families.
yeah.
So, when a patient leaves your care, what do you hope has changed beyond just their lab numbers?
So when a patient leaves my care, my goal for them is to, their original problem that they came in, they're not having that issue anymore, right? And for some people, it's panic and anxiety, and they leave thinking that they could have never gotten off their antidepressant, right? And it's like, no, we fixed a lot of the upstream issues. So whether it was, low magnesium, low omega 3s, low vitamin D, whatever it was, while working on some of the issues that they were facing in their own life. And then they don't feel like they need that crutch anymore, right? And then they come off of it, and yeah, they're like, oh, I haven't felt like I've felt anxiety my entire life, and I don't feel anxious anymore, right?
Mm,
So
mm.
that's incredibly powerful, and again, it depends on what they're coming into, what they're coming to see me for. I've had young men, 30s and 40s, coming to me with low testosterone. They wanted to get on testosterone therapy right away. They also want to have kids. And, those two things don't go hand in hand all the time, right? You go on testosterone therapy, your sperm count naturally goes down. You can kind of get around some of that with HCG every couple of days, but we fixed a lot of the upstream issues that were causing their low testosterone, and their testosterone bounced back, and they don't have to worry about fertility issues down the road when they decide to have kids.
Fascinating. Well, we gotta jump. This has been a great inaugural episode of our new Impact Leaders podcast. We're not just like highlighting perfection, but we're having an honest conversation with someone that's actually doing the work. So I see you in your early chapter on Instagram, navigating real patients all over the world, the real constraints of working with people in different countries and different states, and taking on that real responsibility. And I think that's exactly the kind of leadership that we're looking to embody here on this podcast. So if you're a doctor, if you're a founder, if you're a busy professional and you're in a situation where you feel like you can impact a lot of lives, or you currently are, reach out to me. And if you're struggling with your gut health or your hormones or your metabolism, reach out to Dr. Nate, because you're not behind, you're just building. And if this conversation resonated, the only cost of the podcast, as I always say, is just to share it with someone who could benefit from this information. So I'm Dave Gold. This is the Impact Leaders podcast. And Dr. Nate, thank you so much for jumping on.
Yeah, thank you for having me, Dave.